People often describe feeling a few seconds behind themselves. You might feel overstimulated, even on quiet days, noticing a persistent tension sitting just beneath the surface as you stretch to meet daily demands. This tension represents a nervous system trying to operate in conditions it was never designed for. When input exceeds biological limits for too long, the system shifts into a protective mode to conserve energy. The modern brain is functioning in a state of invisible, constant biological alarm. This chart shows a healthy 24-hour rhythm of cortisol. It is a vital hormone that naturally spikes in the morning to wake you up and increase alertness, before making a smooth, gradual decline as the evening approaches. But modern psychological pressures place an enormous, continual load on the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis in the brain. This constant stress pushes the system past its natural rhythm, leaving it stuck in the on position. Instead of dropping off at night, the curve flatlines at an elevated level, flooding your body with cortisol throughout the entire day. Chronic exposure to cortisol rewrites your internal biology, altering how your cells communicate and store energy. The biological sequence starts in the brain, which sends frantic signals down to the adrenal glands, causing them to release a swarm of cortisol molecules directly into the pulsing bloodstream. This triggers an immediate neurological shift. The amygdala, the brain's center for fear and anxiety, takes control, overriding the logic and reasoning of the prefrontal cortex. Further downstream is the hippocampus, the informational inbox of the brain, where new memories are received, sorted, and prepared for long-term storage. High levels of cortisol effectively shut down this inbox. New incoming information simply bounces off, leaving you struggling with severe brain fog and an inability to focus. This happens because the brain sacrifices logic and memory to prioritize immediate survival. That flood of cortisol then moves into your metabolic system, making a direct line for the deep inflammatory visceral fat surrounding your internal organs. This diagram highlights the mechanical trap. Compared to a standard subcutaneous fat cell, a visceral fat cell possesses 4 times the amount of cortisol receptors, turning the abdomen into a highly sensitive magnet for stress hormones. Simultaneously, rising cortisol triggers the hunger hormone ghrelin, creating intense cravings for calorie-dense, sugary foods. The body uses that sugar to expand those visceral fat stores. It is hoarding emergency fuel because it perceives an incoming physical crisis. Visceral fat represents a physical adaptation where the body hoards emergency fuel in response to a continuous hormonal crisis. As daylight fades, the stress response remains active. Because cortisol levels stay elevated, they block the release of your sleep hormone, melatonin. This hypnogram shows how a state of hyperalertness fractures your sleep architecture. The cycle is unable to dip down into the deepest, restorative N3 stages of sleep. Without that deep sleep, the immune system loses its critical window to restock its weaponry. Immune cells move slowly, and the body fails to produce necessary antibodies or clear out accumulating cellular waste. Your body becomes vulnerable to illness because the nervous system pauses long-term repairs to maintain short-term survival mode. The ultimate consequence of this cortisol cascade is a total loss of homeodynamics. The body loses its metabolic flexibility, leading to a persistent state of chronic fatigue. This physiological state creates a heavy psychological toll. Resilience shrinks, and even small stressors feel massive to a system already loaded with tension. Escaping this cycle requires more than stillness. It requires biological recovery. To clear accumulated cortisol, the brain needs specific biological cues that the environment is safe. The first step to signaling safety is anchoring your circadian rhythm. Exposing yourself to natural morning light at a highly consistent wake time gives your body the precise timing cues it needs to reset daily cortisol levels. Next, the parasympathetic nervous system must be intentionally engaged. This image shows the grounded practice of yoga, utilizing physical therapies and controlled breathing to override mental stress. Every intentional slowdown, every deep breath, and every deliberate pause acts as a mechanical message to your brain that the immediate threat has passed. Lowering cortisol and restoring metabolic flexibility provides your nervous system the permission it needs to settle, beginning the work of cellular repair from the mitochondria up.